Welcome to episode 178 of Auto Off Topic. Hello, Brad. How are you?
I'm excellent, Andrew. Well, that's a lie. I've been sick all week, hence the lack of an episode. So,
Yeah, but you could have listened to us on the Hello Road podcast,
that's
episode
true.
32.
Yes, that was
Uh,
the last recording and before I caught the nasty flu.
yep, we talked to the host, Paul and Ethan, about our podcast, some of our cars, Mitsubishis, and Radwood.
All the things you'd expect us to talk about.
Exactly. So it's slow season here for me, but I guess you were telling me you went to a concourse today?
We need to have a discussion, I think, about what can be called a concourse and what can't be.
Was it just a car show?
It was a car show that you had to apply to be part of,
Okay.
but I don't think that makes it a concourse. Concourse is a generally invitation only and only for like the highest end of the high end. I'm not sure what the
Right.
rules were for getting into this particular event. I didn't look into it, but any car we own up to and including our daily drivers would have been accepted, it looks like.
What was it called?
The Fountain on the Hills Concours d'Elegance.
Okay.
It's in Fountain Hills, Arizona. Let me just pull up the page so I get the name right, because with the Fountain Hills Concourse, so it was Concourse in the Hills 2020 at Fountain Park in Fountain Hills, Arizona. Fountain Hills is about a half hour from downtown Phoenix. It's Scottsdale without the stores.
Okay.
If you know Arizona at all, so it's super high end properties. Like most properties there are probably a million plus. It's very hoity toity. So it's the kind of place you'd expect there to be a concourse kind of show. And it certainly had the vibe when you first walked in of a concourse that you'd go to in, Amelia Island or Pebble Beach or Mistlewood or one of those kinds of shows, based on the cars you saw. The fact that there was no gate was weird, and there was no admission was weird. So all walks of life were there. Definitely not your typical concourse stuffy shirt crowd. Like I didn't see judges walking around in blue blazers and khaki pants. But I did see multi-million-dollar cars with the general public milling around them, which was, I don't want to say disconcerting because it's not my car, but it's odd to see basically. To see a factory GT40 Targa and just have like a guy holding his child over it was strange. There was some Can-Am cars. There were Indy cars from the 50s. They were your typical, section of Jaguars with really nice restored E-types and even earlier, XK 120 style Jaguars and a 34 SS, which is a stunningly beautiful car. It was a one-off prototype race vehicle for Jaguar in 1934, which is, it's got to be priceless pretty much nowadays. But there was very good access to the cars. There were no ropes, no real rules. People were flying drones, which bothers me.
Yeah, well, maybe that was the point, was to get people involved. But yeah, most car shows
There's,
have
yeah,
banned drones unless it's like their official
it
drone operator, because
hundred
that person
percent.
will have liability insurance.
Yeah, 100% was not that. And I'm sure that drones were probably banned here too, but the scope of this thing was so large. It's set, there's a lake in the middle of Fountain Hills, Arizona. I assume it's man made looking at it. In the middle of it has a giant fountain that just sprays water 24/7. Um, and it's probably, I can't guess the size of the body of water. It's big, multiple acres of water. Um, I probably walked 4 or 5 miles today just in this show, going because it goes all the way around the lake from side to side. Um, the amount of people was much higher than would be at a concourse that charged money, obviously, because people don't want to pay to go do things. So a free event is going to draw people. I had to park like a mile away.
Oh, I was
Um,
gonna say, so you didn't enter a car because you thought it was a concourse.
I thought it was a concourse. I probably maybe I'd enter a car if I had some of my cars here, but I don't have a car here that I would have entered in it. Judging by what I saw, I certainly could have gotten away with it. You know, my cars are certainly nicer than some of the stuff that was there. Not that saying that my cars are nice because they're not. But I mean, at one point there was a bone stock like 2001 Hyundai Accent,
Yeah, yeah, you
like
sent me a picture of that.
yeah, with a wrap on one fender that
Just
was
one fender. Yeah.
inappropriate anime, and that's the only mod the car had, and it was inappropriate anime. Like it wasn't something that you should have in a family car show. So that was strange to me, to have in the same show as a GT40.
And then the picture you sent me, the hood was open. Like,
Right, and
cool. Look at this
right,
dirty engine from a
this
economy
dirty
car.
engine on this O2 Hyundai Accent. So I mean, hey, listen, to each their own, I guess. And if you want to let it in, if you have no rules for entry into the show, then hey, it is what it is. But I mean, it was parked next to a Miata that had chandeliers in front of the headlights.
Okay.
So yeah, that section was a little more loose, it seemed. But there was no real flow to the show. There were signs where cars were supposed to park, like, oh, this is a Ferrari section, and the first car you see is a Maserati. Which, you know, there's some family lineage there now, but there was a Maserati section. So the Maserati should have been over the Maserati section. And I feel that a true concourse show is going to have a year cutoff. And this particular event didn't have a year cutoff. It just had tell us what you're bringing and then come down. I'm sure there was a charge to be in the show. I don't know for a fact. But it was new Ferrari, new Ferrari, new Lamborghini, new Lamborghini, new McLaren, new McLaren. More of those than I care to see at any one time, which is the kind of car you're going to see in a community like this because it's a very wealthy, new money kind of community. So it's going to be all new supercars. So there were some serious gems hidden in amongst the average everyday supercar, which is a weird thing to say, but since moving out here, I see probably a Ferrari or an R8 every day. It's not uncommon where I live out here. Um, there were some Diablos and some Countages and some stuff that was a little less common, which is cool to see. The whole way in there, I was in pretty amazing traffic jam because it was just Ferrari, vintage muscle car, vintage sports car, MG. All around me was just nothing but interesting cars, which was pretty neat. So it was an interesting show. I'm not upset that I went. I would go again. I just think that putting the name Concourse on something elevates it to a level that the show didn't produce. So while it had some really nice concourse level stuff, if you're going to a concourse, you expect to see concourse car packed after concourse car. You don't expect to have to wade through your average, you know, Saturday night cruise night kind of car. You know, you shouldn't have your 1934 Jaguar SS parked next to a ratty 1978 XJ12. It doesn't work. It's not like, I don't know. It's me trying to put something in a box that I guess they don't want to be in that box, but don't call it a concourse then. You know, all of the literature, everything about the show, all it shows is like a 330 SP Ferrari and a Ferrari Formula car and a Porsche sports car from the 50s. It doesn't show a 2001 Hyundai Elantra. It doesn't show Miata. It doesn't show an average muscle car, which were there. It doesn't show the Air Ride Dodge Challenger with fake blood painted on the side, which was there. You know, it doesn't.
Yeah, a concourse is like we've said it before. You're expecting a curated car show,
Oh, exactly.
and not like a giant cars and coffee.
That's what this had the feel of. It was like a more organized Cars and Coffee, and it's in a very pretty location. It's all grass. It's rolling hills. It's the fountain spraying in the background. It's the lake. They had tons of food trucks. They had music. They had the typical concourse setup of luxury goods. Like you could buy your $20,000 watch while you were there if you wanted to, or you could buy your $3 snow cone. There was something for everybody, but it wasn't a concourse. It didn't have that feel. It was a car show. It was a good car show, and because they called it a concourse is probably why some of these super high end vehicles were there. But I can't help but imagine that the people that did show up in their super high end vehicles probably were not expecting the, for lack of a better word, amateur hour cars that showed up with them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And again, I don't mean to be a jerk about it, but it's one of those things where call it what it is. Make it a car show. I don't mind an invitation only. I don't mind a car show that you have to apply to get into. I'm not sure exactly what the process was here. I know that the website and everything I've seen on Facebook implies that you need to apply to get your car in there. So I know there were a couple people that were a little upset. One guy in particular had a 52 or 3 Chevy that was a very high dollar custom, chopped, right, section, channeled, the whole nine. Like the whole car was like F40 height when originally it was like 3 F40s tall. And he got put in the bottom of this dust bowl because he was told that the show car area for his show cars was out of room. And then he's in the bottom of the dust bowl and he was like, all right, whatever, that's cool. And then as he's sitting in the dust bowl, they opened up the top section and like factory stock Dodge Neon with Lambo doors drove past him and covered his car in dust to go to the spot that he was supposed to go to. So that's the kind of stuff that you need to be careful of when having a car show, because you start taking everybody off, you're not going to have a car show again.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Again, it wasn't a bad time. And if it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to enter, maybe next year I'll consider entering a car. After seeing what's there, my Colt wouldn't be out of place. My Camaro wouldn't be out of place. Nothing I own would be out of place because there was really no rules,
Right.
There was some really neat stuff. Again, I go over a few cars. There was, I don't know if you saw the SEMA coverage of all the Supras that were at SEMA. They had the flat gray wrapped HKS Supra that was at this show. That aforementioned 52, 53 Chevy was there, was amazing. Another really cool spot of history that was there was the actual 928 from Risky Business. Like verified the car with all of the documentation like displayed in a little thing next to it. Not a particularly fancy 928. It's an 84 manual transmission, gold over brown. Neat color, very period correct, but it was the actual one from the movie, so that was cool. I didn't even know that car still existed. Neat to see that. There were more Porsches than I know what to do with. There were so many Porsches. But again, when you have no rule cutoff, no year cutoff, half of it gets lost because there'd be 2 brand new 911s or a brand new 911 and a brand new Boxster parked at an angle. And if you didn't walk over there, you wouldn't see that there was a minty fresh gold on brown 930, sitting between them looking perfect in front of the pond. Like there was such good stuff hidden. You just needed to walk a lot to find it all. So good time. I recommend it. It's just not a concourse.
Exactly. Okay. So other stuff, auto news. Ford announced that they were debuting the new Bronco. From what I was seeing, because I have a car and driver that talks about, I think it's this month's or last month's car and driver that's talking about the new Bronco. And then when I was looking it up just to double check stuff, it was like announcement coming spring 2020. So everybody's still kind of working off of spy shots and renderings.
So there were spy shots came out this week of a 2-door playing in the snow somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited that there's going to be a 4-door and a 2-door. It reminds me of a Land Rover or an old Montero. That's a cool concept.
And the pretty car and driver and road track reporting and even jalopnik reporting, so that there is a potential for manual transmission.
Okay.
So very strong because they want to go after the Wrangler market.
Yep.
So they've got uh, a manual transmission. The auto is some 10-speed thing that was developed between GM and Ford. I didn't hear about that before.
Okay.
The
That's the
base
same. That's the
engine.
same transmission that's in like the Camaro and stuff, isn't it? Wasn't that developed between Ford and
Are you
GM?
thinking of the ZF 8-speed that's used in a lot of things? That's used
Mm,
in a lot of Chrysler products and BMWs and German stuff.
maybe. I thought I heard of a transmission in the past being developed between GM and Ford because I remember thinking that was odd. But it could be something different, or it could have been this transmission, and I don't know that. Who
Yeah.
knows? Have they put it in
Um,
anything else, or is it going to debut in the
I
Bronco?
don't know. I don't know because I
Hmm.
don't. I don't pay attention to new automatic transmissions that much, actually.
I don't pay attention to old automatic transmissions that much either.
Yeah. Uh, the base engine, they're talking 2.3 EcoBoost, so the 4-cylinder.
Right, which isn't a bad
I think
choice.
I think that's pretty cool. They're a strong engine. Um, Twin turbo V6 EcoBoost as the other option. No V8s so far, but yeah, they're talking. It's going to have removable doors, removable roof. There is rumors of they've done extensive waterproofing of electronics inside. Made the interior materials able to be outside. Obviously, they have spy shots of 2 doors. They're talking maybe like a pickup truck version. I think they're really, really going after that Wrangler. So, and then taking the Bronco name, much like the Mustang, and they want to spin it off into a brand like just like the Mustang. And then they're gonna make I think it's gonna be Escape based, like a smaller Bronco.
Okay, is
So it'll
the
be like,
is
what's
the
that?
Bronco going to be a full frame vehicle? Do we know?
Yeah, it's body on frame.
Oh, excellent.
IFS in the front, leaf springs, live axle rear, uh, Dana axles. They're talking probably the same limited slip that's in the Raptor, and it's it's cool looking too, like from the renderings, and then you can kind of tell from the the camouflage photos, like it's gonna have a cool look to it, like it's gonna have that retro look, and it's so cliched, but we should go for more nostalgic styling on some cars.
Mm,
Yeah, because I mean, so many new cars they really do look the same. Like, how many SUVs look the same? Like, all of GM's SUVs are really hard to tell apart.
they need to make sure they don't overdo retro styling though, because Ford's history with retro styling is very hit or miss. They nailed it in '05 with the Mustang, but
Yeah.
they blew it in '03 with the Thunderbird.
Yes.
So they haven't
But
done any. Those are the two retro cars. One of them was perfect. One of them was awful. So,
and the Mustang's been good, I think, for the
oh,
most
yeah, it
part.
hasn't. It hasn't not been good. But I'm saying, in '05, that car came out and it blew away everything else that was in the market as far as any retro car. It was a perfect modern interpretation of a '68 fastback.
Yeah. And then I do like the idea of them really going after the Wrangler market, and it's like such a difference between what GM did with the Blazer. Like, GM could have done something cool like this with the Blazer, but they decided just to make another SUV that looks like a Traverse.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what is the
I
point of
can't
that?
even tell them apart. I've seen them side by side, and even seeing them side by side, it's like which one's which.
Yeah, it's super weird.
Yeah,
So I'm super excited about that, and
I'm
you
excited
know,
about it. I won't be buying a new one probably because it'll be 40 grand, but
no, but it will be an interesting vehicle to
for
see
sure.
out. It's probably, if it ends up being as nice as they claim and as well designed as they claim, and unfortunately, it'll probably hold their value like silly Wranglers do. Uh, I've driven newer Wranglers. I don't get it. They don't drive that great. They're good vehicles. They're very, very good off road, but they don't drive that well, like down the road. Like, they're really, really
No,
annoying to
no,
drive.
because they're designed for off road.
Yeah.
It's funny because like our first gen Monteros always drove so nice on pavement. It's weird that the 2020 Wrangler doesn't in comparison. Like I don't
Well,
know.
it's a solid front axle.
It could be. Are these Broncos going to have solid axle? Or are they going to be IFS?
No, IFS in the front.
Okay. I don't know.
And
I'm definitely excited about it, and it's certainly something I'll be looking at on the used market probably someday. A little two door SUV is always on my list of potential purchases.
Ford claims this is more of a desert runner than a rock crawler. So
Which is
that's what they're
fine. We
going
don't rock crawl anyway, and I live in the desert, so it works.
for. Yeah.
No, but I'm sure anything, whether it be designed as a rock crawler or a desert runner, would do really well on to be really cliche, an overlanding style weekend. Which is what generally we do is go hit some trails and do a little camping, and that's the extent of it. We're not looking to enter the king of the hammers.
Um, yeah. So then some other car news. And the UK announced that they are banning combustion fuel or having a combustion fuel ban
Yep.
by 2035.
How serious do you think that is?
I think it's very serious.
Do you think
It's
that it'll
15 years.
happen?
It's 15. Yeah, it's 15 years away. It'll definitely happen. Think about how much technology changed from '05 to 2020 in cars.
I agree, but
You went from not having full electric cars really exist for regular people to they exist and work pretty darn well now.
I don't know. I think it's ambitious.
It is ambitious, but you have to
Because
set a steep goal like that so that people get it done. Will they get it done by then?
that's what I mean. Do you think
Maybe not.
will happen? Yeah. I don't think
But
it will, and the reason I don't think it will is because this ban includes hybrid cars as well. This is not
yeah,
a just original style internal combustion engine cars. This is all vehicles that burn fuel. So hydrogen cars, diesel cars, hybrid cars, everything except for electric is what they're talking about.
the problem is if you don't set steep deadlines like this, it will never get done.
But you also don't know what the next 15 years of technology is going to bring. Electric right now is the ticket. That's what everybody's talking about. But something might come down the pike that's better or works better, or they might make internal combustion so efficient that it doesn't even matter anymore. You just never know. It's hard to set that kind of goal, especially when you have companies that are sticking to the internal combustion engine. Look at I don't think Mazda does much. I don't think
They're going to have to, but because almost everybody is pledged to go more electric by that time frame as far as manufacturers.
yeah,
The German ones are doing it.
Honda's still developing internal combustion engine stuff. They're not pushing the hybrid technology very far either, and they're a huge market player.
Well,
So,
you're going to see. We'll see what it's just a way to push technology. So
and again, I get that. I'm just saying, as a rule, do you think it's going to happen by 2030? I don't think it is. I don't think that there's 15 years is enough time to develop enough infrastructure.
absolutely is. It absolutely is.
Hmm.
It totally is. The way technology moves this fast now, 15 years is a long, long time.
Well, we'll table this discussion for 15 years, and we'll come back to it.
Sure.
We'll see where we're at.
Sad news. John Andretti passed away. One of the
Yes.
Andretti family members, a race car driver. He raced.
He's the nephew of Mario, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He raced in, let's see, NASCAR, NHRA, Trans Am.
NHRA?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yep. NASCAR, IndyCar, kart. So one of those, that's the big trait of the Andretti family is they were multifaceted racing drivers.
Yeah, I didn't know he did NHRA though. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so-
That's also interesting because he drove for Petty Enterprises for NASCAR,
Yep.
and Petty Enterprises also Richard Petty used to run NHRA as well as NASCAR in the '60s. So it's kind of a neat little tidbit right there.
Yeah. So passed away of colon cancer. That's a big killer of older men. So definitely make sure that you get checked out when the time is recommended for you to get checked out for that.
Absolutely.
Because if you catch it early, it can save you. If not,
Yeah, they have a pretty good rate now of survival if you catch it early.
as long as it's detected early, yeah. But if it's too late, it's too late. Unfortunately,
Well, that's sad news because he's one of the younger members of the family, actually. I think he
Mm-hmm.
was in his late 50s.
Yes.
Yeah, that's sad.
I've got some Craig Don't Tell Me's because we haven't done that yet in 2020.
Okay,
I've got about three for you.
sure. I got a
And
bunch, and I can whittle it down to three pretty easily.
yeah, I don't want to do a whole ton, but three is a good number. I can go first if you want.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So, meticulously maintained, uh, owned by blank, who had driven and enjoyed the car since the early 90s, always garaged, and owner had spared no expense keeping the car in tip-top condition throughout. Excellent and classic cruise night vehicle. Red with white roadster top on red leather, interior with 180,000 miles, but you would never know it as the car shows and drives like new. All power, including trunk, AMF, and cassette. Appears to have had a repaint at some point and looks beautiful and runs great. Features detailed engine compartment with 4.9 liter V8, 250 horsepower, considered to be the most powerful front-wheel drive car in the early 90s.
So that's going to be a Cadillac Eldorado.
So close.
And it's a Cadillac Coupe de Ville.
Yep.
Yeah. I could picture that particular car. They were fast.
Yeah, this is basically what your mom had, right?
Well, they were fast. Let's talk about my mom had a 91 sedan DeVille, which is the four-door version of the car, in like a creamy white over blue leather. It was actually a pretty car, but it's what I got my first speeding ticket in.
Yeah.
About 600 feet from our house. So I at the time I drove a 1985 Oldsmobile Cutlass with a 3.8 V6 and a two-barrel carburetor that didn't have enough power to spin a tire in the rain.
Right.
So I was not used to driving a car with any kind of power behind it. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So I pulled out onto the main road from our street that we lived on, we grew up on, and I accelerated possibly too hard because I was driving my mom's 250 horsepower front wheel drive V8 Cadillac, and the speed limit's only 45, and I exceeded that pretty quickly, and I got pulled over almost immediately. So,
To be
oops.
totally honest, this is a very nice looking car. I'll send the ad afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
They're asking $5,500. It was owned by the Cadillac Car Club president of New England.
Oh, fancy.
Um,
Is it the two-door one, right?
It's the two-door. It's red on white.
I prefer the
red leather.
lines. I prefer the lines of the four doors in those, to be honest with you. But they're neat cars.
It's funny how much the interior looks like the 75 Cadillac. Like
There's
it's
not
so
much
close.
change. Yeah, there's not much change. Yeah,
But
honestly, I would drive a front wheel drive Eldorado from the '90s. They're not going to be a good handling car by any means, but they went down the road nicely. It was quick. It sounded good. I think, is that a North Star in those, or is it pre North
probably.
Star? Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't know. It looks like a throttle body car too.
Oh, I'm sure it was. I don't know a lot about them. I remember I had a digital dash. It had the radio, looked like it was straight out of '85. It was a neat car. I don't look at that time and say, wow, I can't believe what garbage Cadillac was then, because it was a perfectly content car, or a perfectly acceptable car for the era. And they were definitely faster than they should have been. All right. Well, that one was easy because I knew the car immediately because I used to drive one all the time.
Yep.
So my first one.
All right.
Beautiful blank for sale. I put a brand new Sonneland top on it last year. Had my dad's body shop do a bunch of carburetor work since I've bought it as well. I assume that means since he bought the car.
Mm-hmm.
New speakers and head unit and Bluetooth. The previous owner put an exhaust on it. The 6-cylinder sounds pretty incredible. Absolutely no rust. Seats are original. Have a few tears and patches, but nothing bad. Can't really be seen due to the beaded seat cushions I have on the car. Smiley face. Serious inquiries only. This is a 1988.
Okay.
Your big
am I
clues.
It's a convertible? Is
Yep.
that what?
It's brand new Sunderland.
V6 carbureted
Yes.
convertible in 1988.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Maybe all of these facts are true, but probably not.
Oh boy. Man.
Maybe you should do a 20 questions starting with like country of origin or something.
Yeah. Give me like what's the all right. So is it American?
It is not.
Okay. Is it Japanese?
It is not.
Okay. Is it European?
It is European.
Okay. Is it British?
It is not.
Okay. Is it German?
It is German, yes.
Okay. It's German. Is this a Mercedes?
It is not a Mercedes. Well, I really got to narrow it down this way.
Whoa. Um okay.
So, your main fact, you told me that it was a V6. I didn't say it was a V6. I said it had 6 cylinders.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So this would be it would have to be a BMW. Is it a E30 convertible?
It is an E30 convertible. I would like to know what carburetor work he said done on this E30 convertible.
Oh, that is weird.
It wasn't a particularly good listing. It doesn't have a lot of facts. But when I was reading it and I came across carburetor work, that's interesting. Because the car is clearly not going to be carbureted in 88 BMW.
I think I broke the rules there asking a specific make, but
Yeah, well, it
we'll let
wasn't
it
a
go.
very good. It wasn't a very good
Judges
listing.
judges say there it's okay, so
Yeah,
we'll let it
well,
go.
we'll just cut your prize money in half.
Yeah.
All right, move on.
All right. I think this is a cool one. Can you imagine a car like this pacing the Indy 500? Well, one did. Long, sleek lines, miles of dazzling chrome define this spectacular example of late 40s luxury.
1948 Chrysler Town and Country.
Nope. The correct flathead V12 engine starts instantly and so smoothly you can barely tell it's running.
1948 Lincoln Continental.
Yes. Thought that might be too easy, but this one was really cool.
I did not know that paced the Indy 500. I know that the Chrysler Town and Country did, which is why I went there first. But Flathead V12 was only, that was Lincoln. That was it.
I didn't know they came with a flathead V12.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. I also did not know that they paced the Indy 500.
It wasn't a particularly desirable engine once they were a few years old, and they weren't particularly reliable, and parts weren't super easy to get because it wasn't like it was too, it wasn't like the V8 heads that went across many car lines and truck lines. It was one particular thing. So they're neat, and you'll still see a lot of them with that engine in them. So I like those a lot. It's a pretty car design too. It's a big car.
I don't know if this one was. It kind of looks original, or maybe it's an older restoration, but it's very, very Art Deco, very, very cool. It's that cream yellow on red.
Oh yeah,
which you kind of don't. You never think of old cars as that they came in colors. At least I don't, because sometimes you see black and whites. You see black and white photos so often, you forget that cars actually came in colors in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, exactly. I've actually had the chance to drive one of these cars. I shouldn't say that. Actually, it irritates me when people who just drove cars through auctions say they've driven one. So let me rephrase that. Okay. I had a chance to move one of these cars. Yes. But I remember starting the car, you had turned the key to the left. And then to start it, you pumped the gas pedal twice. And on the second pump, it activated the starter.
Wow.
Yeah. And it starts and you can't hear the thing idle. It's like the smoothest running engine out of anything I've ever been in while idling. And I kind of fell in love with it at that moment because it was just such a neat, like, luxury car of the time.
I'd have to say that's one thing that you don't see very often. Obviously, there was only, 4 or 5 years where they actually made cars during the 40s, but 40s cars are not very common at car shows. You really only see them at like a concourse or something. Like you don't really see them at regular cruise night or cars and coffee. So it's pretty cool to see.
I went to the second Saturday show out here at SoCal Speed Shop a couple weeks ago, probably about a month ago. My father was in town, and one of these V12 Lincolns was there. It was a black one with kind of a greenish colored leather interior and a
Mm,
tan top. It was a beautiful car, and it was for sale. I remember looking at it, and I think it was 28 grand, which isn't
really?
like a
That
huge amount of money.
well, let me tell you how much this one was. They want 89,000 for this one.
Oh, wow, that seems a lot.
That
But
seems like a lot for a late
yeah,
40s car.
well, this
Uh,
car was 29 grand or 31 grand or something. It was around 30 grand, whatever it was. And I remember thinking, like, I don't have 30 grand to drop on a car right now, but that's not a bad way to do it. That's a neat car. It's a good looking car. I mean, this particular one wasn't mint. It was a very presentable driver. It might have been
mm,
restored in the mid 70s, so it had,
yeah,
its second go around of patina on it. But it wasn't anything that would steer me away from spending 30 grand on it. And I was like, I could see myself driving this car. So I don't know what they're worth. I haven't looked up the values of them.
I have
I
no
know
idea.
for a long time they were not worth anything because nobody wanted them, mostly
Yeah,
because of the parts thing. And parts were hard to get for a long time pre-internet age because there just weren't 48 Lincolns sitting around everywhere to get parts from. So I think
definitely has presence though.
it's gotten a little better because of the internet. You can find things all over the world now. But I would definitely, of the era, if I was going to buy one of those versus the equivalent year Cadillac or big Chrysler, I'd probably go with the Lincoln because it's a neat looking car. Although I also like a 48 Chrysler, so who knows?
Yeah.
Neat car though.
All right.
Send me
What do you
the
got
ad
for
when you
me?
get a chance.
I
All right,
will.
next. This is a interesting one. It's an undesirable version of a desirable car.
Okay.
Undesirable like era of a car that had eras of being desirable. So
I'm gonna guess it's some muscle car brand.
I had to wait and find out. I am pleased to present this blank for your consideration. From 1975 to 1979, Blank's stalwart compact blank continued its assigned task of providing affordable and reliable transportation for America. Available as a two-door coupe, a four-door sedan, and a two-door hatchback, the basic shape did not change for the fourth generation's entire 5-year production run. Even though the Blank's mechanicals were well sorted, the six-cylinder engine dates back to 1962 and the V8s back to 1955. Big hint there.
Yep.
All three-speed transmissions have been in production since the late 60s. Also, by 75, the year of this vehicle, Blank had finally sorted out all of the emissions-related problems by adopting catalytic converters. I'm going to skip a few things here. Da-da-da. Three-speed manual column shift, standard.
Chevy Nova.
It is a 75 Chevy Nova, yes. What gave it away? The hatchback part?
Yeah, and then the engine choices. Once you said the engine choices, like, well, it's definitely American.
Yep.
Um, and then I don't know.
1955 made it a small block Chevy.
I'm trying to think of a hatchback Nova. I can't picture that off the top of my
It
head.
doesn't look any different than the two-door from the side. Like
Uh,
marginally different.
okay,
And even when you look at it from the back, it
it's kind of a
looks like it has
slope.
a trunk. Yeah. And just the back window lifts with the trunk. There aren't many left because they weren't very good at keeping water out.
Mm.
But they were available in 1975 through 1979 with a zip-in tent option,
Okay, so you
like
think
like an Aztec.
is this an appreciating collector? Maybe.
Oh, they definitely are. There's no question. They
Yeah.
actually, this one's really, really nice. It's a super solid car. It's a factory V8 car with AC, and it's 13 grand.
Hmm.
So it's I I don't love them because the same basic body style was available 10 years earlier or 6 years earlier with much more, I don't know, stylized svelte lines to it.
Well, this probably has like impact bumpers.
It's got huge aluminum bumpers. It's
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
big square headlights, square bezels, round headlights. I mean, it wins in the interior because it's got a nice like biscuit colored interior with plaid seating surfaces that are
Oh, so it
mint.
screams 70s.
Oh, it's super 70s, and it's on those like 6-hole rally wheels with trim rings and has like a little chrome ring around each hole. white letter tires. It's got a look, and I wouldn't discredit somebody for spending 13 grand in this car. I just
I
don't
mean,
think I would.
if people could, if somebody got together and organized a thing that was like Radwood, but for 70s cars,
Yeah, which I have
I'd
all the
definitely
cars
be,
for. Yeah,
I'd definitely be interested in going to it.
yeah.
It's like a cool era of cars. It never used to be. Now it's kind of like ironically cool, and now you're like, I kind of appreciate some of that stuff.
Oh,
Like
100%.
it's like kind of a weird design time, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm sending you the link I found for that car right now, just so you can look at it. It's a really neat. Um, it's just a really neat of the era car. It clearly looks late 80s. I'm sorry, late 70s, early 80s. There's no getting around it. But whenever I see this era Nova, they're not bad looking on their own. But I know that basic X chassis goes back to 1968, and it looks so
Uh-huh.
good from 68 to 72. So it just makes it really hard for me to consider the later model ones. It just changes it so much. So
All right,
next car.
I've got two door hardtop maroon, uh, 54,000 original miles, 5 liter V8, all power cruise, tilt steering, AC, etc. Second owner. Um, blah 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 blah. Removed and categorized the chrome in preparation for some body work, paint, new vinyl roof.
Final
This still
roof.
needs to be done. Yep. I have all the chrome and 3 extra good doors. New Sears battery. This is a good, solid, and
Hold
strong.
on. Nobody has a new Sears battery. Okay. It's a 5 liter,
Yep.
which could be GM or Ford.
Hmm.
Um, good extra doors leads me down like the Monte Carlo road. So does the vinyl top. And the maroon paint, actually, because most of them are maroon. So I'm going to go, this is a. Do we know what year it is? Did you give me the year?
No,
So this is an 81 Monte Carlo LS.
you are so close.
Am I in the right body or am I in the
Yes.
wrong?
Yep. You're in
All
the
right.
right body.
So that's a Pontiac Grand Prix from 81.
Other brand.
Oldsmobile Cutlass 81.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. 86 Cutlass
Okay.
Supreme. I just saw it and I was like, I just thought of you. I was like, he'll probably get this.
Well,
But
it's funny because I have such a
play the
love for a maroon 86 Cutlass, and I went that last. So, but
yeah,
yes.
it looks like yours before you had it painted, but it's like darker
Yeah,
and
mine was darker before I had it painted. It was more
the
brown
door
than maroon.
rot off.
Sweet.
Oh, speaking of Sears batteries, that reminds me because I mentioned this to you the other night when we were texting. Uh, Stephanie and I went over to the North Shore Mall here in Peabody, which forever had a Sears that's been bulldozed, and
Mm.
it had a Sears service center, which a lot of Sears did
Yeah, it
at
was
the
a
malls.
separate building in the front.
Yeah, it's very, very common. And they all probably, everyone I've seen had very similar styling. Like they're all built in like 1980 or something.
Yeah, they had that
That,
super brutalist, like no design concrete block look.
yeah, it's like, well, it's like concrete, but like vertical lines of concrete
Yeah,
or like
it looked
stucco or
like
where the hell.
it was like a concrete version of like soundproof padding in a wall.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So that is going to be a Tesla service center. I think they're going to have a Tesla dealership probably in the mall, like a showroom,
yeah.
or maybe they'll have it
The
in this.
malls out here have Tesla deals in them.
Um, but it just now the building, like I knew they were building it over there, but I thought they would have remodeled the outside of the building. But all it maybe they will, but right now I should go take a picture of it for our Instagram because right now it just has on this very old 80s building the Tesla logo,
Yeah,
which is kind of 80s looking, and it's like if Tesla was around in 1980 and this is the service center. It's very, very strange.
it's where you got your Tesla Nova serviced.
Yeah, exactly. That just that new Sears. Yeah, I don't know where this guy got a new Sears Gold heavy duty diehard battery.
I don't know if maybe they still exist as Die Hard. They might have gone like a separate, like private label brand now versus
I
being sold
think
in Sears stores.
in reality they were all um, what you call it,
Interstates.
interstates, anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just pretty funny.
All right, I got one more for you here.
Okay.
All right. Da-da-da-da. Okay. Super rare, super classic, blank two-door coupe, tan exterior, tan Landau roof with luggage rack and moonroof, plus matching tan vinyl interior. You'll find a V8 engine under the hood and a 4-speed manual transmission in this incredible Survivor in excellent condition both inside and out. 42,435 lifetime miles. This blank is a real-time capsule to an important era in automotive history. This blank has been titled to 3 different owners throughout the years, and it remains today like it did when it left the factory showroom over 40 years ago. Low mileage Survivor with excellent documentation as well to show a lifetime of proper care and maintenance after being driven an average of just 1,000 miles per year. This example is one of very few produced with the V8 producing 139 horsepower, the top performing engine for the year. In terms of condition, this blank shows nice, ultra clean factory, everything excellent, everything works, has been sprayed once in its lifetime. Original factory color of this body of the vehicle shows well with no minor imperfections, with only minor imperfections to the chrome trim. Engine and trunk great. Doesn't need anything to be joined immediately. It drives fantastic and hasn't lost a step in its 42 years. So let's see. Your big facts there are 2-door, vinyl roof, Landau roof with luggage rack.
Yep.
V8 engine, manual transmission.
Is it all right?
All
right. Well, hold on. I'm gonna throw out just my random guess that popped into my head. TR8.
That is a good guess, but it's not correct. I don't think I've ever seen a TR8 with a Landau top.
Yeah, I knew they had the weird chop top, so decent guess. V8 4-speed.
V8 4-speed.
Definitely from the 70s, 40 years ago. That's a tip off. And the super low horsepower of a V8.
Yes. Yeah, this is probably a 2-barrel carburetor. Actually, definitely is. I'm looking at a picture of the engine.
So it's not going to be Japanese. I don't think it's American. I want to say it's British, but I'm not sure. It would be. Oh, maybe it's I'm trying to think of what the weird Jaguars were from the 70s.
Well, don't, because it's not one of those.
Like an XKE? No?
No. I don't think they had a V8 in those either. Those would have been 6-cylinder or 12-cylinder.
Okay. Maybe it was a Mercedes convertible, like an SL something, SL
Nope.
200. No.
Nope. And again, I don't think there was a V8 offered with a manual. At least not in the States. They may have been in Europe. I don't want to speak out of turn on that.
Okay, so I am in Europe.
Ooh, no, you're not. You're not. It's not a European car. It's an American car.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. American car.
It's got European styling. Yes.
In the 70s.
It doesn't really have European styling, but it was designed by a European styling house. In fact, they're very proud of that because they put it in the name, in the trim package.
Oh. I'm trying to think of an American car that was like a Bertoni or something. I know it can't be a Volvo because it has a V8.
It's American.
Yeah, it's American. Gee. Man, my knowledge of 70s cars is so not good.
See, mine is good, and it's not something to be generally proud of.
Oh boy, it's gotta be.
This car is about maybe a little bit bigger than my.
Yeah, see, I'm talking through it. It's got to be a Chrysler product. It seems weird. Not weird enough to be an AMC product, so I'm thinking it's Chrysler.
It's not Chrysler.
Really?
It's also not AMC.
Okay.
Although AMC would be an accepted guess because a Hornet of the era would have those options, but this does not.
Okay. Is it a Mustang 2?
It's a Mustang 2 Ghia.
Whoa, they had a Ghia version?
Yeah, the Ghia was the top of the line version. In fact, next time you talk to Naomi, you can ask her all about it because this is her first car.
Weird. What a weird car.
So it's a 77 Mustang 2 Ghia. It's a very small car with a 302, a 4-speed manual, factory alloy wheels, factory leather, factory sunroof. It's really freaking cool. It's another
Hmm.
car that, much like that Nova, is something that 10 years ago would have gone completely under the radar.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Something that a 16-year-old girl would get for her first car. Like I said, Naomi's first car was a Mustang 2. Um, but now it's something that is so odd that it's really cool. I'm going to send you this link too, just so you can take a look at it. And I bet you will actually want to buy this car.
Hmm.
You won't actually buy the car because $12,900 and
No,
it's a lot of money, but I think it's
no.
worth every dime of that $12,900 because it's exceptionally nice and it's exceptionally low mileage. And how can you go wrong for a V8 4-speed, even if it only has 145 horsepower? You could
Yeah.
easily just slap a carburetor on there, take off some of the emission stuff, and you'd have, a 200 horsepower, 2,500 pound rear wheel drive little Mustang, and that wouldn't be a
Yep.
bad thing, right?
No,
So again, this is one of those cars that I probably wouldn't myself spend 12 grand on, but I
no.
wouldn't, but I wouldn't fault somebody for doing it.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that a car this nice in this era is going to only appreciate because it's that nice. You're not going to retire off of the thing, but I think that if you bought this car and you owned it for 10 years, you would, at the very minimum break even, probably sell it for closer to 20. So
All right.
I think
Hmm.
it's a really neat car. And I don't know. These kinds of things are really speaking to me now that
Hmm.
I'm getting too old, but I like it.
No, it's kind of just like a weird car. I don't know. 70s cars are coming up. Is what the point is.
Oh, 100%.
They're in a weird place.
Well, the thing is, we have the quote unquote Radwood effect. So you have the 80s and 90s stuff that's gone through the roof, um, and the 70s
Well,
stuff kind of got passed over.
yeah, it did because the 50s, 60s stuff was could be made. It had like some performance to it, had some styling to it. The 70s were real frumpy, so to speak,
Most of them, not
and
all of them.
yeah, most of them. But then when we got to the 80s, they started to figure it out. They kind of squeezed some performance of the emission choke stuff. Cars started to get better again, so those kind of took off first. But yeah, now the 70s is kind of coming up on
But I
cars.
think
So
generally, if you look outside of American cars in the 70s, there was some neat stuff going on. American, the American stuff was very.
oh, definitely,
They call it the Malaise era for a reason. It's all very
yeah, it was rough.
Malaise. It was kind of boring. Like even this Mustang that I'm waxing a static over here isn't a great looking car. It's got huge bumpers. It's got a Landau top. It's got a chrome luggage rack on the trunk. It's not something that you look at and go hot rod. It's not a sports car. It's kind of an in between car. But if you look outside of American stuff, I mean, you had V8 Vantage from Aston Martin. You had 930 turbo Porsches. You had
Hmm.
even like a Honda Accords and Honda Civics and stuff in the 70s were neat little runabouts. Stuff like my Dodge Colt, which is a Mitsubishi Lancer, or the Ford Escort Mark IIs and Mark Ones. And all these cars they were a lot more fun than American cars were. The Volkswagen Rabbit came out in the 70s, and that was a fun little front wheel drive hatch. And the whole hot hatch movement started in the 70s. So there's a lot of cool stuff outside of American cars in the 70s. American cars were just behind.
Hmm.
They were starting to lose their steam then. So, but yeah, they're coming up, and I think that buying a 70s car now is not a bad idea. I used to buy Colts for $1,000. $1,000 Colts don't exist anymore.
Yeah, how'd that one on Bring a Trailer end up? Did you keep following that?
Yeah, I went for about $5,000, which is market
Yeah,
right now.
it seemed pretty good for that car.
Yeah, it wasn't perfect. It needed a little things. It had a little bit of rust bubbling in the quarter panels where the trunk leaked at some point and filled the trunk with water.
Yeah.
It had a little bit of rust bubbling in the bottom of the fenders where it probably collected, leaves and sand and stuff over the years. And somebody had taken off the vinyl roof and spray painted it black where it was supposed to be. So they needed a couple of bucks to make it, a perfect car. So I think $5,000 is about right for the car.
Hmm.
Excuse me. Again, now that equivalent, if that was a Corolla, would have been $10,000. So
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, with that little bit of car buying advice, there are some events coming up because we're getting into the spring, and I think that one of the first big events, at least for the people that like this show, Radwood Austin is February 29th.
And I will be there.
Leap Day, which is I feel like we talked more about leap year in the 90s. We don't make a big deal
I think
about
we
it
did because we
anymore.
were in school.
Yeah, probably. What if you were born on leap year? Like, does that mean you're only like 4 years old? Like, what? Stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I think that maybe we should try to find some way to bring Leap Day into the Radwood thing here, but we'll see. I'll be there
and
though, so
then
that's exciting.
Yep, and then you're gonna bring the Eclipse.
Yep, I'm going to be going with the Eclipse. I'm going to be caravanning out with Ron and his Starion.
Yep. And then there's one in March in South Carolina at the Michelin Tire Center, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I forget the date on that one. It might be like early March or mid March or something. A little bit far to get to. For me, it's kind of in between the two of us, right?
South Carolina's not in between the two of us now.
Well, distance wise,
It's definitely closer to you.
but closer. They have moved Radwood Philly to the spring.
Yep.
Same place at the Navy Yard, which is
Mm-hmm.
a super cool space. It's going to be April 5th in Philly, and I will be there with the Gallant. That's what I decided to bring. I don't want to bring more than one car. It's kind of a 6-hour drive.
It's
a long drive to
cars.
bring
Yeah.
2 cars, so just bring the Gallant. That's what I'm planning on.
I'm undecided on that one yet. I may fly out or not. Who knows? It depends on finances and time and everything going on around then. But
Yeah,
it was a lot of
come out
fun.
and drive down.
It was a lot of fun last time I went. I might even fly into Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, I can always pick you up.
Yep.
So there's that, and then later in April, Southern New Hampshire Cars and Coffee. The first event is April 19th at the Coffee Factory in Salem, New Hampshire. As always, we ask that you come and just hang out and be cool. Don't blast super loud music. Don't do burnouts. Just go have some coffee, hang out. The mix of cars is usually really, really good. Everybody's super nice. Like just hang out, be cool, right? Just be cool.
Yep, chill.
And then if you go on Facebook, all the events for the season are laid out, so you can see all the dates. We'll do reminders, but first one, April 19th.
We even tell you where it is on Facebook, despite people asking.
That's right.
Yeah. You're like, man, I wish you told me where this event was. It's like, well, it says it right in the event. Exact address where it is. What else do you want from us?
All right. Anything else for you, Brad?
I don't think so.
All right. Sounds cool. So, as always, you can follow us on Facebook, Auto Off Topic Podcast, Auto Off Topic on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram, Raced in Anger. And Brad, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at TSISS350. Don't forget to log in and sign up for the Gearhead Project forums. And that's it.
All right. Sounds great. Keep cars analog and aim for the roses.